My sister had been married for 7 years and was 32 years old. From this marriage, she had a 5-year-old son. Claudia, my sister, was very lucky. Pedro, my brother-in-law, was a family-oriented, hardworking guy with no bad habits, and he did everything for her. My sister's best friend was Telma, and they had known each other since they were teenagers. Telma had been married for 3 years, for 5 years, but she didn't have children. She had been single for about 2 years. Telma often told my sister how great it was to be single, and that she never wanted to get married again. My sister worked for me. I'm a representative for a cosmetics company and have a small distributor in my city. Telma would often come by and chat with Claudia. At first, my sister didn't pay much attention and just laughed at Telma's stories, saying Telma was crazy. According to Telma, every weekend she would go out with 2 or 3 handsome guys, saying it was a lot of fun and that being free was the best thing in the world. That commitment was a thing of the past. Little by little, these conversations from Telma began to influence my sister. When I noticed it, I tried to warn her. I told her not to follow Telma's lead because her happiness was just a facade. Telma exaggerated or even made up many of the things she told my sister, but I was sure it was all just to hide the emptiness she felt. I had friends who frequented the same places as Telma, and most of them had already been with her. She was always trying to settle down with someone, but no one wanted to. Even though I told my sister about this, she didn't really believe me and let herself be influenced. Until one day, she made the biggest mistake of her life. She asked Pedro for a divorce. It was a shock to him and to me as well. Our parents were devastated. My sister's excuse was, "My life is too stagnant. I want to feel alive. I want to go out, have fun. I'm still young and don't want to die without stories to tell." No one could convince Claudia to change her mind, and in the end, she got divorced. She started going out with Telma, and at first she really enjoyed it. Many of my friends started talking about them, saying they'd see them at different clubs and bars around town. We live in a small town called Rio Claro in Sao Paulo, and in a place like this, everyone hears about everything. Soon, rumors about my sister spread all over town. After the separation, my sister got custody of my nephew, and the house she and Pedro lived in, still being paid off, went to Pedro. He paid child support and picked up my nephew every weekend. My sister moved back in with my parents. At first, they were okay with it because of my nephew, but they soon started to take issue with Claudia's nightlife. It was as if she had reverted to her teenage years. After more than a year, I noticed that my sister wasn't as excited about single life anymore. She told me that she and Telma still went out, but they weren't finding anything serious anymore, just casual dates. I laughed and said, "Come on, Claudia, wake up. You and Telma are over 30 and trying to compete with 20-year-olds. And in your case, it's even harder because you have a kid, which scares a lot of guys away." She laughed and agreed, saying that whenever she mentioned her son, guys' expressions changed. Time passed and things only got worse. Claudia started gaining weight, and it wasn't just a little. Telma, after trying for so long to get into a serious relationship, ended up meeting a much older guy, at least 15 years older, and they moved in together. Now my sister was single, overweight, and unhappy with her life. When the second year of her separation rolled around, she became desperate and started asking me if I knew anything about Pedro, trying to get some information, if he was dating anyone, if he was in a relationship. Pedro and I had always been friends. We had a biking group, and every weekend we got together. I knew everything about Pedro's life, but I didn't say anything to my sister to avoid making her feel bad. In fact, Pedro was already dating someone. Then one day, he showed up at my parents' house to pick up my nephew as usual, and brought his new girlfriend, a dentist he had met on a biking trail, a very beautiful woman. Claudia was at the window watching, and after that she was consumed with jealousy. A week later, my sister started to give Pedro a hard time, trying to set new rules for when he could see my nephew, saying he couldn't pick him up every week anymore, only every 2 weeks. My dad didn't like this, and told her that if she was going to make things difficult, she should take her son and move out. My dad knew, we all knew, that she was only doing this out of jealousy because now she was seeing Pedro happy, while she had no one. Pedro is such a good friend of mine that I even started joking with my sister, saying I'd fire her if she didn't stop this behavior. She eventually calmed down but started crying every day. She became bitter and resentful, constantly telling neighbors and anyone she met that men are all the same and can't be trusted. But she never admits the mistake she made by divorcing her husband. Recently, my sister got really mad at me because Telma, her best friend, was single again. The guy Telma was with didn't last even a year. They were chatting at the office, and I said to them, "Well, now you can start going out again and maybe find someone, but be sure to know your place, okay? Head to the senior dance hall because there, you'll be in high demand." They understood it was a joke, but they got really mad at me. Now they're nearing 40 and still haven't found anyone else. To those of you who made it to the end of this video, thank you very much. Leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.